What is up, guys? It is J Dog back with another video. I know it's been a really long time since I've uploaded another video, but we are going to react to another feminist video because it seems that's the most popular kind of content on this channel. So it is Why Every Teenage Boy Should Be a Feminist by Ethan Burnham. Okay, let's see what he's got to say about it.
My name is Eitan Bernath. I'm a 16-year-old male, and I am a proud feminist. Feminist, an advocate for women's rights on the basis of social, economic, and political equality of the sexes.
All right, let's stop it there. So he said the equality of the sexes, and I want to reiterate that point, equality of the sexes. So let's look up the definition of feminism from Google. The advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of sexes. And I think that's the point that most feminists forget, that it's supposed to be the equality of men and women. So just as much as men suffer, they need to also be helped just as much as women suffer, and they need to be helped as well. But let's see what else he's got on this. Why every teenage boy should be a feminist.
International Women's Day, a day for advocacy of women's rights around the world. I'm here to talk to all of the teenage boys that are watching to talk about why it is so important for all of us to be feminists and what exactly that means. We must be an ally for gender equality because it is not a women's problem, but it is a human problem. Personally, I've been a feminist ever since I can remember. I've always been surrounded by strong working women like my mom, my grandmothers, and some of my biggest inspirations in life are women who are big feminists like Ellen DeGeneres and Lily Singh.
Oh God. Ellen DeGeneres and Lily Singh are his inspirations for feminism. Lily Singh, she had that late night show that was just an absolute, just it was just garbage. Like it didn't do well in the ratings. It wasn't funny. And then Ellen DeGeneres is like Ellen the Degenerate because she treated people like horribly. From like subreddits I read about how she treated her producers and staff. And so, like, those are your inspirations for feminism. Like, if anything, that's just going to make more people go away from feminism. So I don't know. I just don't think those are some great role models. Like, you could have easily just picked like a Susan B. Anthony or even Judge Judy, because like she even didn't call herself a feminist, but Judge Judy was more impactful and said that she like worked hard to be a lawyer, not because she's a female lawyer, but that she's a lawyer who happens to be a female. And so like those should be real inspirations for women empowerment, not Lily Singh and Ellen DeGeneres.
I'm definitely no expert on the topic, but I always try to keep myself as informed as possible so I know as much as I can about this thing that I'm so passionate about. Here in the United States, it is almost the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which enabled women to vote and have a say in our government. A century later, we've made tremendous strides for women's equality in this country, and today we have the most amount of women in Congress than we've ever had before.
See, he's proving my point that 100 years ago was the 19th Amendment, and it gave the women the right to vote. And now, as the years have progressed, women have now pretty much, I believe, reached equality in America, right? Women actually are now having it better than men because he said there are more women in Congress than men. So, doesn't that mean, if anything, things have flipped the other way around? That now it's actually we should go help out men and support more men in Congress, because according to feminism, going back to that definition, it's the equality, right? Right now we're not equal anymore. But so I don't understand what he's pushing then. Like, where is there deficits in women's rights and women's access to opportunities in America specifically? Why should any teenage boy in this country care about that? Why not any teenage country care about the deficits and the issues among men? I feel like there are much more of that in this country than for females.
But unfortunately, we still live in a broken system that says that my work as a white male is worth 46 cents more to the dollar than an equally qualified Hispanic woman, and 31 cents more to the dollar than an equally qualified African American woman for the exact same job. That is absolutely messed up.
Oh, it's the not this again. This is the gender pay gap. So the supposed gender pay gap is that, yeah, sure, women make 40 cents per the dollar than men. But the biggest flaw with this is, if that's true, then how come corporations aren't just filled with women? Right? It's cheaper. It's 40 cents a dollar, so it should be filled with women in the corporations. But that's just not true. right? If you look at any corporations, it's mixed between men and women. And plus, there are laws, there's legislative laws that prevent this from happening, where you cannot discriminate against gender, sex, or religion in terms of pay. You can't unequally pay a woman compared to a man for the exact same job. It's against the law. And so the only traces of this supposed gender pay gap could probably be due to men are typically more aggressive when it comes to raises. And secondly, men tend to be full time while women tend to be part time. And also, women take maternity leave for their kids. So they try to have a balance between their professional life and family life, which is, I don't have a problem with that. But like, to just say that there's a gender pay gap and then that is inherently unequal is just completely wrong because you're not really looking at the full picture of what's going on with these pay situations between a man and a woman.
While we've come a long way here in the United States, in parts of the world, women are still treated like property and have few to no rights of their own. Education isn't even an option for many women because they are seen as uneducatable and only capable of working in their home. There's a lot of work to be done to build not only societies that will educate women, but societies that will support women working in the workforce. Furthermore, in many cultures, women are removed from society and placed into isolation during menstruation because of beliefs that a naturally occurring bodily function is unholy. How can something that is a natural biological process be evil or wrong? We must combat misogyny whether it is blatant or under the guise of tradition. We must
See, now he's pushing this point, right? That it's now not that feminism, we need to push it in America, but push it outwards towards other nations, right? Towards the Middle East, right? The Middle East is a very popular one because for the longest time in Saudi Arabia, women couldn't drive. And it's true, right? It's There's way more female oppression in those Middle Eastern countries. Like, women don't have the right to vote. In some cases, women can't even leave the country without a man's permission. That's real inequality, not in America. We don't have that level of inequality. But the problem with feminists is they get into this conundrum. Because on one hand, feminism likes this cultural relativism, right? They like to respect every culture and think they're all right. For example, Islam. They think, oh yeah, Islam is 100% correct, right? And they're a feminist. And so the problem is, if you think all the tenets of Islam are right and there's nothing wrong with the religion, and if you say anything wrong about it, you're Islamophobic, the problem is one of the tenets is oppressing women, that a man's voice is more correct and more should be listened to more than a woman. And that inadvertently it goes completely against feminism, right? So you can't have it both ways. That you have this cultural relativism that every culture is right and every ethnicity is right, but then you're having this guy saying that we should change these cultures, which means you would be undermining certain religious beliefs. So you got to pick an avenue here. And I think that's also one thing that feminism comes into these numerous conundrums that they're not willing to address.
throw away ridiculous taboos and include in the education system for teenage guys like me about consent, that no means no, and that no item of clothing or lack thereof means that she was asking for it. It's no coincidence that boys grow up, whether consciously or subconsciously, believing that they are superior to women. Misogyny is ingrained in many aspects of how we raise our children.
So now he goes on to say about the no means no and that any piece of clothing. I think he's trying to push that idea of the rape culture. And it doesn't exist, right? Like last time I checked, my father didn't tell me, Justin, you go and you go rape a girl, right? That's not what I was encouraged to do. I was encouraged to go out there and if a girl's struggling or she needs help, you help her. If she's getting these unwanted advances from a man, you just make sure like you talk to her. And if she feels unsafe or just feels like that she needs someone to walk with, you help her, right? You help her out. I don't know where this push of this rape culture comes. Just because a few guys do some bad stuff doesn't dictate that every man is inherently pushing this rape culture. And it's just completely wrong. And I mean, if anything, there isn't a rape culture in America. It's the opposite. A famous football player was supposedly accused of rape, right? He lost his scholarship to the college. He got kicked out of college. He couldn't play football anymore. His whole family shunned him. The media shunned him. And guess what? It turns out it was all fake. It was a fabricated lie from a female who got jealous that he was going out with other women. This is the problem we have, right? That negatively impacted a man. The woman got to walk out scot free with the false accusations, but the man had to suffer. So where is there a rape culture and where is there oppression of women in this country? It just doesn't exist.
We must teach boys that women are not princesses locked up in a castle waiting for a strong man to save them. We need to teach them that women are strong, powerful, and like them, capable of shaping their own future. For all
See, but I don't know where is he referencing this. When has a man treated a woman like she's in a princess up in a castle? He's just saying words, but he's not giving examples. Right? I would love to hear examples or like evidence of where is this being shown. How are we treating women like they're princesses up in a castle? It's not like a woman. It's not like we prevent women from going to college or upper education. That happens in third world countries, like you said. That's an example of treating women badly. It's preventing them from ever getting any forms of education. But that's not what we do in this country. So I don't know what he's talking about.
teenage boys watching this, I'm asking you to stop and think about what it really means to be a feminist and why you should identify as one. I promise you it will not threaten your masculinity to stand up for women's rights. It's a common misconception that when women are lifted up, that men are brought down. That is simply not true.
That is actually 100% true, and I actually have a story about that. Is that when I went to college, there was a scholarship, and I was a science major, so there was a STEM scholarship for women, right? As long as you're a woman, you can apply for the scholarship, you can get the scholarship. All you have to do is be a woman in either science, technology, engineering, or math. There was no male scholarship for that. If feminism believes in the equality of genders, then how come there isn't a male scholarship, right? It's only a female scholarship. I didn't get to apply to anything, but women could apply to science, technology, engineering, or math. How is that fair? That's raising women up and then pushing me down because I don't have any scholarship to apply to or any way of getting financial aid for my major. And if anything, it's actually patronizing towards women because what's that supposed to mean? That if you're a female in STEM, it's a miracle, it's somehow deserving of more money because you're so oppressed that reading science books is too difficult for women. Is that what a STEM scholarship for only women mean? Like, it feels really patronizing to me, in fact. And also, a lot of men suffer, and I don't think he's even brought up any of the points of how men have suffered, which is on average, men have higher suicide rates, higher drug use, and it's really quite lonely to be a man. Somebody said that the only time you get a bouquet of flowers as a man is at your funeral. It's just we live in we live as such isolating people in terms of being a man compared to women, right? Like a female can post on Facebook and just get lots of like, yes, queen, you go, you slay, but then as a man, you don't get that same reciprocation. So it just seems wrong because feminism only pushes this women should be empowered doctrine versus men. They don't care about us. They just don't. Not once in this whole video has he talked about perspectives of men suffering. It just he's not even mentioning it. It seems like he completely forgot that he is a man, in fact, and that we suffer and we are susceptible to societal challenges just as much as females are.
When we are all united, we can and will fix this broken system, ensuring equal rights, pay, and opportunity for every single woman in this world is not a radical idea, a political agenda, or impossible. Imagine what could be
I mean, it is a really tough thing to do because it's again trying to go through a changing again what I said previously, which is the whole cultural relativism, Islam versus the feminist. Only if they're willing to criticize like religions and the way certain cultures are, only then could you really push for change, saying that certain doctrines, I'm not saying the whole religion is bad, but certain doctrines of Islam are pretty dangerous and actually hold women back than rather propelling them forward. But again, that has nothing to do with America. I don't know like how he keeps saying that females in America are oppressed. It's rather that it's a global issue in terms of other countries, but it's not like every country has issues with feminism. It's more centered around the Middle East and certain third world countries as well, but just not every single country is inherently disadvantaged for the females. That's just not true. It's just not true.
accomplished when half of the world's population is not held back? Not only will it be major socioeconomical impact, but there'll be breakthroughs in every field of work that will ultimately advance humankind. Ever since I've been loud and proud about my support for gender
He just said half the population of the world. Does he just assume like what women are trapped right now? Every single woman is oppressed. Because he just said half the population of the world. So he assumes that like what like there's no successful women there, like they just don't exist, that um they're just all locked up in a cage and that they're waiting for that one day men can acknowledge their privilege of the patriarchy to free them. That just isn't true. It just isn't true. Right? If anything, I feel like we live in a society more dominated towards women. Because I can stand up on a stage and say, women are smart, beautiful, and men are a bunch of idiots. I would get cheered on that stage, right? Like, whoa, you go. But then if I say the opposite and say men are smart and handsome and women are idiots, I would be booed off that stage. And so that's a great example of how society has flipped towards this narrative of more women empowerment and less truly caring about what we went to in the beginning of the definition, which is the equality of men and women.
equality, I've encountered many boys my age who have jeered when hearing that I am a feminist. It's unfortunate that the false and negative connotation that's been given to this word caused these boys' fragile masculinity to feel threatened. I try to educate
See, he did a classic feminism maneuver, which is to say the fragile male ego. The fragile male ego cannot handle the truth. The fragile. It's not that we have a fragile male ego. It's that we acknowledge that feminism is only pushing towards complete benefit of women and completely forgets about men. Right? If anything, the man's ego, a man's masculinity just gets thrown out the window. They completely forget about men. That we should be treated as if every man is privileged, which is not true. We suffer and we hurt just as much as women do, and we have been silenced because of feminism. And if you speak up anytime against men and say we should fight for men's rights, you're labeled this misogynistic man who doesn't deserve a platform at all, which is just not true. We have a voice just as much as women have a voice in this world as well.
them, and I hope I've done the same with this video about the true meaning of feminism. And let's just make it clear there is nothing manly about being misogynistic. Every single boy in this world should be a feminist to ensure that their mom, their sister, their future daughter has all the same opportunities to succeed in this world as they do. My name is Eitan Bernath, and this is what a feminist looks like.
Okay, please, nobody be a feminist. Just look at that face. Just don't do it. Please don't be a feminist. No, but then he brought up the last point he said, where he said that like his mom, sister, a daughter. He didn't mention a son, right? Like, what is it? Is it just like you were born a male, you're inherently privileged, you know exactly what to do in this world, and you have no struggles whatsoever? Men struggle too, and I think that is a great example of where feminists falls apart. Is they forget to acknowledge men. By definition, they're the equality of men and women, but they don't really live up to it. The men suffer too, and men need help and men need support, but feminism is not willing to give that to them. And also, teenage boys are extremely lonely, and there's just been an uptick in just horrible behavior amongst them because they feel so isolated, alone, and not heard. For example, a lot of school shooters are now teenage boys, and that used to not be a thing when I was younger, but it is now because they just feel so isolated, alone. They look on social media, and every girl and woman is having the time of their life and are excelling in classes, excelling in life while they aren't, and they feel demonized for being a man, and it sometimes can push them over the edge, which is just so unfortunate. And so I just would never push anyone to be a feminist. I do believe that men and women should be treated equal, but I don't believe feminism treats men and women equally. So now we're gonna look through some comments, because I also feel like YouTube comments best reflect people's overall opinion on a said topic. Some of my biggest inspirations are women who are big feminists like Ellen. Dear God, that poor boy. Yeah, seriously, he needs to like find new role models. Like, there's like tons of them, man. Like you got like Judge Judy or Susan B. Anthony. Like you could even go to classics, right? Of like not even that long ago for better inspirations. Someone get this kid a positive and a gym membership. So that's true, actually. He not once said anything about him. Like in the beginning, he's like, "Oh, my mother, my grandmother." But what about like a male role model, right? Did he not have a father, or was it like an abusive father? Yeah, how come he never brought that up, right? Because like a father is a really important role model in a kid's life, especially a son's life. Because a father is supposed to be a reflection of how a kid is supposed to act in society, how he's supposed to go through obstacles, and how he's supposed to treat women, how is he supposed to treat his wife, treat his daughter, and also treat his son, right? A man's whole world is shaped, in a sense, through his father. That's what he should become. And he didn't mention it once, right? And that's a key thing too, is that we should also praise men. That good men should be praised and not demonized. Because in this whole video, he basically just demonized all men, and he not once praised them, saying like, good job, guys. Right? There's some men who stand up for women's rights, who intervene when women get attacked, and who always stand for treating women with respect and equality. But he never once said that. It's just terrible in my opinion. Homeless white straight male sitting down on the sidewalk. Everyone else, look at that privilege. That's actually really funny because he did say like I'm a white male, and it's true. Like what if you're male, you're automatically privileged. Like a homeless dude doesn't suffer. A homeless dude isn't well off, and it probably blows his mind that you could have a working woman who makes a six-figure salary is has more privilege and more status than a homeless man. It would like blow this kid's mind, and then he will realize that it's not necessarily just being a man or woman, but it's a numerous other factors such as like drug use, income bracket, societal standing, right? All these affect how you are in society, not just being a male or a female. 100% true. But like, I try not to be too hard on this young kid. I mean, he's still a teenager, so we always have those phases. Like, I had these phases where I would like watch all these sappy romantic comedies to try to get with girls, but it didn't work. So I'm sure he probably doing this to get with some ladies. I don't know if it'll work or not. So it's like I'm not gonna be too hard on him. But yeah, it's just feminism is not the solution. It's not right. And to quote Milo Yiannopoulos, so he said that would you rather have cancer or feminism? And he said, I would rather have cancer. And I gotta admit, there's some forms of cancer that's curable, but there's no forms of feminism that are curable. Alright, guys, we reached the end of the video. I want you guys to smash that like button, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me, do you like my content? Do you not? You can tell me you are for feminism, you're against it, why and why not. It's just an open dialogue here. So I really appreciate you guys, and I hopefully will make more content and more videos soon. And so, yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, and have a great day, guys.